Hello students, and now we can discuss about porphyrias. So last class we discussed about heme synthesis and the enzymes, any enzyme defective in the heme synthesis can cause porphyrias. Okay, so what are porphyrias? Porphyria can be called as a group of disorders due to abnormality in the pathway of biosynthesis of heme, and it can be genetic or acquired. So the word porphyria, it is a Greek word which means purple. Okay, and earlier purple was considered as a royal color because this disease was diagnosed. It was seen in many of the royal families. Okay, an example is this ruler. Can you identify this ruler? Who is this? He is known as the Mad King who lost America. Okay, that is, it is said that this ruler had porphyria, and his name is King George III. Okay, so many of his many of his weird decisions that made lose America. That made he was a ruler of England, so he had this acute intermittent porphyria, and this American Revolution happened during his acute attacks. So many of his bizarre decisions is basically because of this acute intermittent porphyria and its neurovisceral manifestations. So hence porphyria was considered as a royal disease, and that is why it is named as porphyria, because the word porphyria itself means purple. Purple was considered as a royal color. Okay. So this is an outline of the enzymes defective and porphyrias. So we know that in hemes the first is the glycine plus succinyl CoA forms aminolevulinic acid, right? And the enzyme is ALA synthase. So ALA synthase deficiency porphyria is there, but it is rare. The second step is the aminolevulinic acid undergoes dehydration, form porphobilinogen. So any enzyme defective in ALA dehydratase form ALA dehydratase deficiency porphyria, and it is mostly caused by lead. Okay, because lead can inhibit ALA dehydratase. Then next step is the porphobilinogen undergoes deamination to form hydroxymethylbilane. So this is very important. So porphobilinogen deamination, that enzyme deficiency causes acute intermittent porphyria. Then hydroxymethylbilane undergoes with the help of cyclization with the help of uroporphyrinogen 3 synthase, and it forms uroporphyrinogen 3. And any enzyme defective in uroporphyrinogen 3 causes congenital erythropoietic porphyria. The uroporphyrinogen 3 undergoes decarboxylation and what forms? It forms porphyria cutanea tarda. So it forms coproporphyrinogen, and coproporphyrinogen undergoes oxidation to form hereditary coproporphyria, which protoporphyrinogen again undergoes oxidation to form variegate porphyria, and in enzyme defective in ferrochelatase and forms protoporphyric porphyria. That is, enzyme defective in these enzyme deficiencies can cause these porphyrias. So defective uroporphyrinogen 3 synthase cause congenital erythropoietic porphyria. Uroporphyrinogen decarboxylase deficiency causes porphyria cutanea tarda. Coproporphyrinogen oxidase deficiency causes hereditary coproporphyria. Then protoporphyrinogen oxidase deficiency causes variegate porphyria, and ferrochelatase deficiency causes protoporphyric porphyria. So you can remember all these porphyrias in order by using this mnemonic. All congenital porphyrias have variable presentation. That is, A stands for acute intermittent porphyria, then congenital, the congenital erythropoietic porphyria, then porphyria stands for porphyria cutanea tarda, then H stands for hereditary coproporphyria, V for variegate porphyria, and P for protoporphyric porphyria. And in order to remember the enzymes, you can use this trick. Like acute intermittent porphyria, we know that A is the first alphabet, right? And the only enzyme with one in it is uroporphyrinogen 1 synthase. Okay, so other names for uroporphyrinogen 1 synthase is porphobilinogen deaminase or HMB synthase. So acute intermittent porphyria, just remember A is the first letter. So the first enzyme involved, the only enzyme with one in it is uroporphyrinogen 1. So the enzyme defective is uroporphyrinogen 1 synthase. Similarly, next porphyria is congenital erythropoietic porphyria. Other name is Gunther's disease. Okay, so congenital, the C is the third letter, right? So any enzyme with 3 in it, that is uroporphyrinogen 3 cosynthase. Okay, so enzyme involved in congenital erythropoietic porphyria is UPG 3 synthase. Then porphyria cutanea tarda. Okay, it is DADA. So the enzyme defective is uroporphyrinogen decarboxylase. Okay, DD. So thus you can remember the enzyme deficient in PCT. Similarly, variegate porphyria. So it is variegate VA. Okay, we know that in Malayalam VA means ba, come. So ba and po goes together. So that is variegate porphyria and protoporphyrinogen oxidase. Thus you can remember the enzyme. Okay, so va and po connected. So in all the South Indian languages, it is va means come and po means go. So variegate porphyria, the enzyme defective is protoporphyrogen oxidase. Then erythropoietic porphyria. This erythropoietic porphyria it has ER. Similarly, ferrochelatase, the enzyme deficient, it has also ER in it. So thus you can remember. So using this trick, you can remember the name of porphyrias and the enzymes deficient. So this enzyme deficient is usually asked almost all the enzymes. So by using this trick, you can remember all the enzymes pretty well. Like at acute intermittent porphyria, the enzyme defective is UPG1 synthase. A is the first alphabet, so 1 1. Similarly, congenital erythropoietic porphyria, C is the third alphabet. So the enzyme defective is CpG3 co-synthase, right? Uroporphyrin 3 co-synthase. So enzyme defective is UPG3 co-synthase. Then porphyria cutanea tarda. So enzyme D in it is only this enzyme, uroporphyrin decarboxylase. That is only enzyme in heme synthetic pathway with DA in it, right? Then variegate porphyria. So Va and Po. That is variegate porphyria. The enzyme defective is protoporphyrogen oxidase and erythropoietic porphyria. So ER. So enzyme defective is ferrochelatase. Okay. Now about the biochemical basis of the major symptoms. So we know that some of the porphyrias present with the neuromuscular manifestations and some present with cutaneous manifestations, some present with both. So general guideline is that the enzymes defective early in the pathway like ALA dehydratase or HMB synthase that mainly causes neuropsychiatric symptoms. So it mainly affects the nervous system. Whereas enzymes defective late in the pathway like this protoporphyrogen oxidase or ferrochelatase, they usually present with a photosensitivity. So what is the reason for photosensitivity? It is the accumulation of porphyrinogens in the skin. So there is accumulation of porphyrinogens in the skin which undergoes spontaneous oxidation and forms porphyrins. So when the porphyrins are exposed to light, it can cause photosensitivity. So enzyme deficient late in the pathway can cause photosensitivity, and enzyme deficient early in the pathway can cause neuropsychiatric symptoms. So basically it is caused by mutation in the various genes which results in the abnormalities of enzymes of heme synthesis. Okay, so this is the basic biochemical basis of the major signs and symptoms of porphyria. Enzyme defective early in the pathway causes neurovisceral, neuropsychiatric manifestations. Enzyme defective late in the pathway causes photosensitivity. Okay. So next we can discuss about the first enzyme deficiency, that is ALA synthase deficiency. So ALA synthase, it is inhibited by heme in non-erythroid cells. In erythroid cells, it is mainly iron. Okay. So the defective ALA synthase deficiency, that defective gene leads to pyridoxine responsive sideroblastic anemia. So that is the point which you have to remember. Pyridoxine responsive sideroblastic anemia. Then administration of barbiturates, ethanol or the anticonvulsants depletes heme. Okay, so it depletes the heme. So feedback inhibition on ALA synthase is removed. Then definitive diagnosis is by demonstration of mutation in erythroid ALA synthase. So you can diagnose the ALA synthase deficiency by demonstration of mutation in erythroid ALA synthase. So when ALA synthase is deficient, what happens? Glycine and succinyl-CoA will not form this aminolevulinic acid, the first step. So this is the rate limiting step, and the major point which you have to remember is in case of ALA synthase deficiency, that leads to pyridoxine responsive sideroblastic anemia, and you can diagnose it by demonstration of mutation in erythroid ALA synthase. Okay. Second, about the ALA dehydratase deficiency. So that is the second enzyme in heme synthetic pathway. What is the function of ALA dehydratase? The ALA dehydratase acts on aminolevulinic acid and removes two water molecules from it and forms porphobilinogen. Okay, that is the second step. So deficiency of ALA dehydratase causes ALA dehydratase deficiency porphyria or ADP. Okay, so it is otherwise called as dose porphyria or plumboporphyria. So ALA dehydratase deficiency can cause dose porphyria or plumboporphyria. So the differential diagnoses are lead poisoning. So we know that lead inhibits ALA dehydratase. So lead poisoning is a DD for it. Also tyrosinemia type 1. This you might have studied in amino acid metabolism. In tyrosinemia type 1, there is accumulation of succinyl acetone, and that is structurally similar to the aminolevulinic acid. So because of the structural similarity, the tyrosinemia type 1 can mimic the ALA dehydratase deficiency porphyria. It is otherwise called dose porphyria or plumboporphyria. So what happens when ALA dehydratase is deficient? Since this reaction doesn't occur, the aminolevulinic acid accumulates, right? So there is accumulation of plasma as well as urinary aminolevulinate, and also there is decreased action of ALA dehydratase in erythrocytes. And prenatal diagnosis is by ALAD activity in cultured chorionic villi. So that's how we can diagnose it prenatally, by ALAD activity, the activity of ALA dehydratase in cultured chorionic villi. So ALA dehydratase deficiency, so it's otherwise called as PBG synthase deficiency. So plumboporphyria, why plumboporphyria? We know that ALA dehydratase is sensitive to inhibition by lead. So this mimics lead poisoning. Also tyrosinemia type 1 is another differential diagnosis for this ALA dehydratase deficiency porphyria, and there is increased levels of ALA, aminolevulinate acid, in plasma as well as urine. Okay. Now can you answer this question? A girl licks paint that is peeled off from the toys, develop acute abdominal pain, tingly sensation of hands, legs and weakness. Which enzyme is inhibited in this type? So here the key points is the girl licks paint. We know that paint contains lead. Okay. So these are typical manifestations. So what is the answer? And the lead is sensitive to ALA dehydratase enzyme is sensitive to inhibition by lead. So the correct answer is D. Okay, so option D. So ALA dehydratase, that is lead poisoning. So this ALA dehydratase is a sulfhydryl enzyme. It is a sulfhydryl enzyme which is sensitive to inhibition by heavy metals. Okay. So a characteristic finding of lead poisoning is the elevation of ALA. There is increased ALA in the absence of elevation of porphobilinogen. Since porphobilinogen is not formed, there is increased ALA in the absence of porphobilinogen in ALA dehydratase deficiency. So this is the correct answer is D. Next we can discuss about the acute intermittent porphyria. This is a very important topic. So earlier we mentioned about King George III. So it's known that it is said that he was suffering from acute intermittent porphyria attacks during the time of American Revolution. Okay. So how is this acute intermittent porphyria formed? That is, the porphobilinogen is not converted to hydroxymethylbilate. Okay, there is deficiency of PBG deaminase. This deamination reaction is not occurring. The other names for this PBG deaminase is HMB synthase, or other name is the trick. A is the first letter. So the enzyme UPG1 synthase. So 1A first letter and 1. So these are the enzyme deficient in acute intermittent porphyria. Acute intermittent porphyria is caused by deficiency of porphobilinogen deaminase or HMB synthase or UPG1 synthase. Fine. And you can see the characteristic manifestations are abdominal pain. Usually the patient presents to the surgery department complaining of abdominal pain. Okay. So the defect in acute intermittent porphyria, it's defect in PBG deaminase, HMB synthase or uroporphyrinogen 1 synthase. So A is the first letter, so 1 for 1, and you can see the red colored urine. So the most common symptom is abdominal pain, and the most common physical sign is tachycardia. Okay, so all these are entrance points usually asked in questions. The most common symptom is abdominal pain and the most common physical sign is tachycardia. And female sex hormones have a stimulatory effect on ALA synthase. So the manifestations are more during the reproductive period. So less severe manifestation before menarche and menopause. So it is said that these female hormones, estrogens and progesterone, they have a stimulatory effect on ALA synthase. So more manifestations during the reproductive period and less manifestations before menarche and after menopause. But surprisingly, during pregnancy also the manifestations are less. Okay. And next point you have to remember is the attack is precipitated by starvation. So symptoms are elevated by high carbohydrate diet. So we know that when discussing about the heme regulation, we said that glucose can prevent induction of ALA synthase. Glucose prevent ALA synthase induction. Glucose prevent ALA synthase induction. So this is the basis for administration of glucose during acute intermittent porphyria attacks. So symptoms are alleviated, symptoms are reduced by high carbohydrate diet because glucose can prevent ALA synthase induction. Okay. And the levels of ALA, that is aminolevulinic acid and porphobilinogen, are elevated in blood and urine. So both ALA and PBG are elevated. Whereas in case of ALA dehydratase deficiency or in lead poisoning, only ALA is elevated. So elevation of ALA in the absence of elevation of porphobilinogen is characteristic of lead poisoning. Why? Because there the porphobilinogen formation is not occurring. Whereas in acute intermittent porphyria, what happens? Both ALA and PBG gets eliminated because here the defect is in porphobilinogen deamination. The next step, the further step is blocked, right? So all the precursors, this ALA, aminolevuronic acid and porphobilinogen are elevated. Okay, so there is increased levels of aminolevuronic acid and increased levels of porphobilinogen. And as all these porphyrinogens in general, they are colorless compounds, urine is colorless when voided. Okay, at the time of voiding it is colorless, but on standing it gets photooxidized and it forms porphyrin. Okay, it forms the porphobilin. So porphobilinogen will be converted to porphobilin. And hence urine samples for PBG estimation should be freshly collected. So that is important. Why? Because on exposed to sunlight it will be converted to colored compounds. So it should be estimated in dark bottles. Why? Because the porphobilinogen, otherwise the porphobilinogen will be converted to porphobilin. So porphyrins are not excreted or elevated in blood, so there is no photosensitivity. So the porphyria with no photosensitivity, is what? Acute intermittent porphyria, right? So acute intermittent porphyria has no photosensitivity. So the PBG estimation should be freshly collected and transported in dark bottles, otherwise porphobilinogen will undergo oxidation and forms porphobilin. So estimation of porphobilinogen will not occur. Now for treatment, hepatic targeted RNA interference therapy is directed. So new modality, hepatic targeted RNA interference therapy is done, that inhibits markedly elevated ALA synthase 1 mRNA, which reduce the ongoing attack. So RNAi therapy is directed to inhibit the markedly elevated ALA synthase 1 mRNA. So this helps in reducing the ongoing attack. Okay. So about acute intermittent porphyria, you have to remember the enzymes division. So what is the enzyme division? It is HMB synthase or porphobilinogen deaminase or uroporphyrinogen 1 synthase, and the levels of ALA, that is aminolevuronic acid, and porphobilinogen is elevated in urine, and urine should be transported in dark bottles, otherwise porphobilinogen will undergo oxidation and forms porphobilin. And since porphyrins are not voided, or it doesn't produce any photosensitivity. Okay, so that is porphyrins are not excreted or elevated in blood. Okay, so there is no photosensitivity. So it is a porphyria with no photosensitivity, and the most common symptom is abdominal pain, and the most common physical sign is tachycardia. Also, this is the most common acute porphyria. Okay, most common acute porphyria is acute intermittent porphyria. Most common acute porphyria. If the question is most common porphyria, what is the answer? The most common porphyria is porphyria cutanea tarda. Okay, the most common acute porphyria is acute intermittent porphyria. So this is just a in summary, it's a genetic disorder characterized by abnormal heme production caused by porphobilinogen deaminase. Other names are HMB synthase or uroporphyrinogen 1 synthase. A first alphabet, so uroporphyrinogen 1 synthase. Thus you can remember it. And instances around 10 in 1 lakh manifest after puberty. So we know that hormones have a stimulatory effect on it. More manifestations are seen during the reproductive period. There is a risk factor for family history. As we said earlier, the King George III, about 2 descendants of King George III family were having this disease. They were having this disease, acute intermittent porphyria, and symptoms are worsened by hormones, drugs and alcohol. And most common symptom is abdominal pain, diagnosed by high urine levels of porphobilinogen, and treated by painkillers or IV hydration. So complications are seizures and peripheral neuropathy. There is 50% risk of transmission to offspring. So that is in general about acute intermittent porphyria, and we know that RNAi therapy is done. It reduces the ongoing viral attack. So next we can discuss about an important porphyria, that is congenital erythropoietic porphyria, CEP. The other name for CEP is Gunther's disease. Okay, so C is the third alphabet. So how can you remember the enzyme division? It is uroporphyrinogen 3 synthase, right? So congenital erythropoietic porphyria is caused by defect in uroporphyrinogen 3 synthase enzyme. So what happens? The HMB, so HMB is not converted to uroporphyrinogen 3. Okay. So what happens when HMP is not converted to uroporphyrinogen 3 in its absence? HMP will undergo spontaneous cyclization and forms uroporphyrinogen 1. So thus uroporphyrinogen 1 is elevated in this congenital erythropoietic porphyria. So this uroporphyrinogen 1 will be converted to coproporphyrinogen 1. So the 1 series is elevated because the 3 synthase enzyme is deficient. So HMB will undergo spontaneous cyclization because that cyclization from HMB to uroporphyrinogen 1 does not require any enzyme. Okay. So uroporphyrinogen 1 is formed and which will be converted to coproporphyrinogen 1. And the clinical manifestations include disfigurement of face and hands. Why there is disfigurement? Because these porphyrins, that is the uroporphyrinogen 1, then coproporphyrinogen 1, these will get accumulated in the skin. So there is secondary infection of cutaneous lesions. So that when exposed to light cause photosensitivity and can cause secondary infection of the cutaneous lesions, which leads to the disfigurement of face and hands. Another important point is the reddish brown teeth. So that is a characteristic point of this congenital erythropoietic porphyria. Many of the times you can see just a picture with reddish brown teeth and you are asked to identify the porphyria. So reddish brown teeth is present in congenital erythropoietic porphyria and the enzyme defect is uroporphyrinogen 3 synthase. This you have to remember. So why there is reddish brown teeth? That is porphyrins are deposited in teeth and bones. So as a result, the teeth are brownish and they fluoresce on exposure to long wave ultraviolet light. So porphyrins are deposited in the teeth and bones and as a result, the teeth are brownish and they fluoresce on exposure to long UV light. So that is why the teeth is reddish brown in color. And there is splenomegaly in congenital erythropoietic porphyria by there is hemolysis, that is due to the marked increase in erythrocyte porphyrins. So there is marked increase in erythrocyte porphyrins which leads to splenomegaly. Okay, so these are some of the clinical manifestations of congenital erythropoietic porphyria. There is disfigurement of face and hands, that is basically because of the secondary infection to cutaneous lesions. Then reddish brown teeth because the porphyrins are deposited in the teeth. So on exposure to light gets converted to reddish brown color. And there is splenomegaly because there is hemolysis, that is due to marked increase in erythrocyte porphyrins. Okay. So how can you diagnose a congenital erythropoietic porphyria or the Gunther's disease? Which is enzyme defective? UPG3 synthase. So since this uroporphyrinogen 3 synthase is defective, the hydroxymethylbilane form will be converted to uroporphyrinogen 1. Okay, this is a spontaneous cyclization reaction and this UPG1 will be converted to coproporphyrinogen 1. If there was uroporphyrinogen 3 synthase, if there was no deficiency in the enzyme, the UPG3 synthase, what does it form? It forms uroporphyrinogen 3. Okay. So there is accumulation of uroporphyrinogen 1 and coproporphyrinogen 1. So they accumulate in bone marrow erythrocyte, plasma urine feces, and coproporphyrin 1 is the predominant porphyrin in feces. So on exposure light they undergoes oxidation. So coproporphyrinogen will form coproporphyrin. And so that's an oxidation reaction by light. Okay. So you can diagnose it by the accumulation of uroporphyrin 1 and coproporphyrin 1 and the predominant porphyrin feces is coproporphyrin 1. And the diagnosis of CEP can be confirmed by demonstration of markedly deficient urosynthase activity. There is marked deficient of urosynthase activity or by the identification of specific mutations in the urosynthase gene. Either you can identify the mutation in the uroporphyrinogen 3 synthase gene or there is you can find out the deficiency of this urosynthase activity. So the porphyrins elevated in congenital erythropoietic porphyria are uroporphyrin 1 and coproporphyrin 1. Now there is erythrodontia. Okay, that is a reddish fluorescence of teeth when illuminated with long UV light caused by deposition of porphyrins. So porphyrin deposition can cause erythrodontia. Or there is pot wine urine or the pink stain in diapers caused by the porphyrins. The porphyrins are excreted. The main porphyrins are uroporphyrin 1 and coproporphyrin 1. Now diagnosis. You can diagnose, there is one mutation of this GATA1 gene. Okay, GATA1 gene. So that is one mutation in GATA-A1 which encodes the X-linked erythrospecific transcription factor GATA-A binding protein. Okay, So that has been identified in individual with CAP. It's also seen in thrombocytopenia and also beta thalassemia. Okay, GAT-A1 protein. So it can be diagnosed in utero by measuring the porphyrins in amniotic fluid. You can measure the levels of uroporphyrin 1 and coproporphyrin 1 in amniotic fluid. So usually present with non-immune hydropes, congenital erythropoietic porphyria. So you can diagnose by the elevation of these porphyrins in amniotic fluid, the neurosynthetase activity in cultured amniotic cells of chorionic villi, or by detection of family specific gene mutation, that is mutation in gene of urosynthetase activity. So you can detect it in utero by measuring porphyrins in amniotic fluid. There will be elevation of uroporphyrin 1 and coproporphyrin, and urosynthetase activity. There will be deficiency in the activity of urosynthetase in cultured amniotic cells, or by detection of family specific gene mutations. Okay, so that is GAT-A1 mutation. How can you treat the disease? You have to do transfusion. So severe cases often require blood transfusion. Then splenectomy can reduce the hemolysis. Reduce hemolysis and decrease transfusion requirements. Splenectomy reduce hemolysis and decrease the transfusion requirements. And protection from sunlight. We know that there will be photosensitivity. So protection from sunlight and minor skin trauma is important. So beta carotene is used to protect from sunlight. Okay, beta carotene is used to protect sunlight. So that is transfusion for anemia. So severe anemia requires blood transfusion, and splenectomy that may reduce the hemolysis and decrease the transfusion requirements, and beta carotene in order to protect from sunlight. And gene therapy, so that is using a human cDNA urosynthase retroviral vectors. So human complementary DNA urosynthase retroviral vectors is a gene therapy that is given to the disorder. Okay, congenital erythropoietic porphyria. So that's about the congenital erythropoietic porphyria. The enzyme defective is uroporphyrinogen 3 synthase. Okay, so and the main treatment is transfusion, splenectomy, then protection from sunlight and from minor skin trauma, because the cutaneous lesions can undergo secondary infection and can cause disfigurement. Okay, due to deposition of these porphyrins, and also there will be reddish brown teeth because of a deposition of porphyrins, and what happens? There will be splenomegaly, that is due to accumulation of this erythrocyte precursors. So for treatment, you have to do transfusions for anemia. Then splenectomy can reduce the hemolysis. Then you have to protect them from sunlight. For that, beta carotene will be helpful. And gene therapy using human cDNA urosynthase retroviral vectors are some of the treatment modalities for congenital erythropoietic porphyria. So next we can discuss about porphyria cutanea tarda. So that is the most common porphyria. Okay, porphyria cutanea tarda is the most common porphyria. Which is the enzyme deficient in porphyria cutanea tarda? That is decarboxylase. That is the uroporphyrinogen decarboxylase. That is the enzyme defective in porphyria cutanea tarda. So DADA, decarboxylase defect. Okay, decarboxylase defect. UPG decarboxylase defect. So porphyria cutanea tarda, the most common porphyria. Enzyme defective is uroporphyrinogen decarboxylase defect. 80% is sporadic. Okay, so there is uroporphyrinogen 3 to coproporphyrinogen. This uroporphyrinogen decarboxylase defective and forms porphyria cutanea tarda. And there are some aggravating factors for porphyria cutanea tarda, which is most similar to the acute intermittent porphyria. That is HIV and hepatitis C. Okay, HIV, hepatitis C. Then excess alcohol. Excess alcohol can aggravate this porphyria cutanea tarda. Then elevated iron. Iron can also aggravate this disorder. And hormones, the estrogen hormone. These are some of the aggravating factors for porphyria cutanea tarda. HIV, hepatitis B, excess alcohol, iron and estrogen. Then clinical features, there will be blistering skin lesions in the back of hands. You can see the blistering skin lesions in the back of hands. So these rupture and they crust over that leave the areas of atrophy and also scarring. Can cause atrophy and scarring. And lesions can occur on forearms, face and legs. So lesions can occur on forearms, face and legs. So that results in hypertrichosis and hyperpigmentation of the face. Okay. So this can cause blistering skin lesions, porphyria cutanea tarda. Though it is a hepatic porphyria, it mainly affects the liver, it can cause cutaneous photosensitivity. Okay, there will be blistering skin lesions in back of hands and can cause hypertrichosis and hyperpigmentation of the face. And patients with porphyria cutanea tarda, they have chronic liver disease and sometimes cirrhosis, and they are at risk for hepatocellular carcinoma. So porphyria cutanea tarda mainly affects the liver. And there will be cutaneous photosensitive lesions, can cause hypertrichosis, hyperpigmentation of face, then blistering skin lesion, and the enzyme defective is uroporphyrinogen decarboxylase. So they are susceptible to chronic liver disease and they are risk for hepatocellular carcinoma. Then how can you diagnose it? So urinary porphyrins consist mainly of uroporphyrins. Since decarboxylation of uroporphyrin that doesn't occur, uroporphyrins will be elevated. Then isocoproporphyrins are diagnostic of hepatic uroporphyrin decarboxylase deficiency. Isocoproporphyrins are diagnostic for hepatic uroporphyrin decarboxylase activity. For treatment, we can give repeated phlebotomy. Since iron is an aggravating factor, in order to reduce hepatic iron, you can give phlebotomy, repeated phlebotomy, and low dose regimen of chloroquine or hydroxychloroquine. Example, 125 milligram of chloroquine phosphate twice weekly should be given, because standard doses can induce transient, sometimes marked increase in photosensitivity and hepatocellular damage. So you cannot give the standard dose, but small dose of 125 milligram, that also twice weekly. Okay, not all days, twice weekly can be given as a treatment for this porphyria cutanea tarda. Then in patients with end-stage liver disease, administer erythropoietin. Okay, in patients with end-stage liver disease, administer erythropoietin. So these are some of the treatment modalities for this porphyria cutanea tarda. Phlebotomy to reduce hepatic iron, low dose regimen chloroquine or hydroxychloroquine, that is 125 milligram twice weekly. Then in patients with end-stage renal disease, administer erythropoietin. Okay, we can discuss about hereditary coproporphyria. So in hereditary coproporphyria, the synthesis of protoporphyrinogen is not occurring. That is, there is defective in the enzyme of coproporphyrinogen oxidase. So this oxidation reaction is not occurring. Okay. So there is defect in the coproporphyrinogen oxidase. So what is the action of this enzyme? Yes, the coproporphyrinogen, what happens? The propionyl groups of the first and second pyrrole rings undergoes decarboxylation and forms the vinyl groups, right? So this enzyme is defective. And this disease presents with acute ectads, just like in acute intermittent porphyria, and there will be also cutaneous photosensitivity. We know that enzymes defective late in the pathway of heme synthesis generally presents with cutaneous photosensitivity, right? Because there is accumulation of this porphyrins in skin, and when exposed to light they undergoes oxidation and produce a cutaneous photosensitivity. And there will be marked elevation of coproporphyrinogen 3. So this, since this enzyme is defective, coproporphyrin, the precursor will be elevated, right? So elevation of coproporphyrinogen 3 in urine and feces is the basis of that will be the lab finding of hereditary coproporphyria. So you have to remember this, hereditary coproporphyria caused by coproporphyrinogen oxidase. Next, about the variegate porphyria. So we know that. How will you remember variegate porphyria enzyme defective efficiency? Ba and Po, right? So variegate porphyria enzyme defective is protoporphyrinogen oxidase. So protoporphyrinogen to protoporphyrin, that oxidation is not occurring. So there is defect in the protoporphyrinogen oxidase, and variegate porphyria can present with skin photosensitivity. Also there will be acute neurovisceral crisis or both. And there will be urinary ALA and PBG levels are increased during the acute attacks. So this oxidation is not occurring, so all the precursor compounds are elevated. Mostly urinary ALA and PBG levels are increased during the acute attacks. So it presents with skin photosensitivity. So just like hereditary porphyria, the enzyme defective late in the pathway. So protoporphyrinogen oxidase is defective, so usually presents with cutaneous photosensitivity, as these porphyrins are deposited in the skin and presents with cutaneous lesions. Okay. And this can also manifest with acute neurovisceral crisis. And there is increase in fecal protoporphyrin and 3, and in urinary coproporphyrin 3 are more persistent. Okay, so increase in fecal protoporphyrin and coproporphyrin and in urinary coproporphyrin 3 are more persistent. Next, about the erythropoietic porphyria or the protoporphyric porphyria, the last enzyme, ferrochelatase. What is the action of ferrochelatase? It incorporates iron into the protoporphyrin ring, right? So, here the ferrochelatase enzyme is deficient. That leads to the erythropoietic porphyria or protoporphyric porphyria. And that is the most common porphyria in children. So, most common porphyria in children is erythropoietic porphyria or protoporphyric porphyria. That is other name. And which is the most common porphyria in adults? It is Porphyria cutanea tarda. So this is the second most common in adults. Which is the most common acute porphyria? The most common acute porphyria, it's in the name itself, that is acute intermittent porphyria. Okay. So this is due to the defect in ferrochelatase, that is ferrochelatase mutation will be present. So this FECH gene that provides instruction for making an enzyme known as the ferrochelatase. Okay, so this gene mutation can lead to defect in the ferrochelatase enzyme. So erythropoietic porphyria usually presents with non-blistering photosensitivity. So no blisters is formed. So still non-blistering photosensitivity and characterized by pain and swelling and redness within minutes of sunlight exposure, resembling the angioedema. So you can say it is non-blistering photosensitivity. Non-blistering photosensitivity in children, the most probable diagnosis will be erythropoietic protoporphyria. Okay. And for treatment, since it can cause photosensitivity, the oral beta carotene that may improve the tolerance to sunlight, and afamelanotide, that is an alpha melanocyte stimulating hormone, has been approved by European medicines agencies. So afamelanotide and alpha MSH hormone has been approved, but in US it is still under phase 3 trial. Okay, but in Europe this medicine is already approved, afamelanotide, and oral beta carotene can improve tolerance to sunlight. So this is the most common porphyria seen in children and usually presents with non-blistering photosensitivity. Then about X-linked protoporphyria. So that is due to the increased activity of ALA synthase 2. So where is this ALA synthase 2 present? In the erythroid cells, right? So due to the increased activity of ALA synthase 2, due to the gain of function mutation, that causes this X-linked protoporphyria. Okay, ALA synthase 2, the gain of function mutation. So that results in X-linked protoporphyria. Similarly, X-linked sideroblastic anemia, which is not a porphyria, caused by decreased activity of ALA synthase 2. So, related to ALA synthase 2, there are two porphyrias. One is X-linked protoporphyria and other one is X-linked sideroblastic anemia, which is not truly a porphyria, it is a sideroblastic anemia caused by decreased activity of ALA synthase 2. So, these are the various porphyrias. Now, how will you classify the porphyrias? The porphyrias are mainly classified to two, hepatic porphyrias as well as erythropoietic porphyria, based on which organ they cause major symptoms. Okay, typically which organs are mostly affected. So hepatic porphyria, it means the liver is the mostly affected organ, and this can cause either neurovisceral symptoms, cutaneous and neurovisceral symptoms, and cutaneous photosensitivity. So based on the symptoms they produce and based on the target organs, hepatic porphyria can be classified to neurovisceral symptoms. Those causing neurovisceral symptoms are ALA dehydratase deficiency porphyria, and second one is acute intermittent porphyria. Those causing photosensitivity symptoms is porphyria cutanea tarda. So porphyria cutanea tarda is a hepatic porphyria but presents with predominant cutaneous symptoms. Okay, it mainly affects the skin because these precursor porphyrins get deposited in the skin, and on exposure to sunlight it causes photosensitivity. Those present with both cutaneous and neuromuscular manifestations are hereditary coproporphyria and variegate porphyria. Then about erythropoietic porphyria, they usually present with photosensitivity, and examples are congenital erythropoietic porphyria and erythropoietic porphyria. So these usually presents with photosensitivity. Okay. So hepatic porphyrias with only neuromuscular manifestations are ALA dehydratase deficiency porphyria and acute intermittent porphyria. Those with cutaneous manifestations predominantly is porphyria cutanea tarda. Those with both cutaneous and neurovisceral manifestation, examples are hereditary coproporphyria and variegate porphyria. Okay. Then erythropoietic porphyria, those with cutaneous photosensitivity is congenital erythropoietic porphyria and erythropoietic porphyria. Okay. Then most of the porphyrias are autosomal dominant. So if you ask what is the nature of acute intermittent porphyria, it is Mode of inheritance is autosomal dominant. There are only 4 exceptions. One is ALA dehydratase deficiency enzyme porphyria, which is recessive. Then congenital erythropoietic porphyria, that is also recessive. Erythropoietic porphyria is also recessive, and X-linked protoporphyria, which is X-linked. So these three are autosomal recessive, and X-linked protoporphyria is X-linked. All other porphyrias are autosomal dominant. Okay. Now the general treatment guidelines for porphyrias. Mostly we give symptomatic treatment. So we treat the patient according to the symptoms. Then avoid the drugs that induce the production of cytochrome P450. We know that drugs like barbiturate and griseofulvin, they induce the production of cytochrome P450, right? So you should avoid those drugs for treatment. That is a general basis for treating porphyria. Then ingestion of large amounts of carbohydrates. Why? What is the basis? Because glucose can prevent induction of this ALA synthase enzyme. Okay. So ingestion of large amounts of carbohydrate will help to relieve the symptoms of carbohydrates because glucose prevents the induction of ALA synthase enzyme. So glucose prevents ALA synthase induction. Then administration of hematin to repress the ALA synthase 1 synthesis to diminish the production of harmful heme precursors. Okay, administration of hematin. So hematin we know that is also an allosteric inhibitor of ALA synthase, right? So they repress the ALA synthase 1 synthesis and diminish the production of harmful heme precursors. Then patients exhibiting photosensitivity, they usually benefit from sunscreen and also from administered beta carotene, which appears to lessen the production of free radicals, decreasing photosensitivity. So beta carotene lessen the production of free radicals, thus it can help in reducing the photosensitivity. So which are the major porphyrias causing photosensitivity? That is porphyria cutanea tarda, then erythropoietic porphyria, and then congenital erythropoietic porphyria and hereditary, right? So all these porphyrias, they benefit from sunscreens and beta carotene. The rest of the porphyrias, we usually treat the symptoms. Symptomatic treatment is given, and also avoid the drugs that induce ALA synthase like barbiturates, griseofulvin, then steroids. Okay, then also carbohydrates. Since glucose prevents induction of ALA synthase enzyme, administration of or the carbohydrate rich diet prevents attack of porphyrias. Okay. Now try to answer these questions. Lead poisoning would be expected to result in an elevated level of lead inhibits which enzyme? ALA dehydratase. So which will be elevated? It is aminolevulinic acid. So answer is A. Okay, so aminolevulinic acid will be elevated in lead poisoning. RNAi therapy is used for. So RNA interference therapy is used for the treatment of, what is the answer? It is A. Acute intermittent porphyria. They reduce the ongoing attack, right?